Hey, good morning, everybody, and what a fantastic Wednesday. My name is Jade Alberts from Calgary, Alberta. I'm a small business strategist, influencer, and brand builder. My passion is helping small businesses grow and succeed. Sharing stories and knowledge is why I started my Telling It Like It Is live discussion. It is a live discussion, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you're watching this after the fact on some social media platform, please ask your questions and we will get back to you. This episode is brought to you by Healthy Heart Sleep Company, Calgary's premier sleep apnea and CPAP company. They are locally owned and have 2 locations. Today's Telling It Like It Is guest is Dirk Dembroski of Progressive Strength and Conditioning. Dirk, how are you today? And thanks for joining me.
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on, Jake.
And as usual with a live discussion, sometimes we have some issues, and the guests are going to have to look at my ugly mug and not focus on you, which is sad.
It's probably for the best.
I don't know about that. I can probably see our viewership dropping as I'm talking. So what I'll do is I'll give Dirk a brief introduction, and then we'll get at her. So Dirk grew up on the West Coast and developed his love for coaching after spent time in the U.S. where he studied health and fitness at the Jamestown University in North Dakota. It was there where he was exposed to his first class of leadership and strong culture. Dirk has since carried those elements with him in every aspect of his life. Now Dirk is not only working with young athletes, but also older adults to help educate people in exercise proficiency. I mean, there's so much put on, health and wellness in today's world. And I know you and I met a few years ago and, playing senior baseball, and obviously we'll put our rivalry aside, but
for sure,
working with individual athletes and teams, how do you train the individual different than a team?
So I think what a lot of people need to understand, and this applies to business as well, is that you really need to understand who that person is as a whole. You can't just assume that they're like Johnny over here or Kim over here. I think that as we get better at being leaders and at being coaches, we start to get to know the athletes more personally. What's their home life? What's their schooling like? What kind of troubles and tribulations have they gone through? And I think it's really important to get to know who they are as a person so that we can change and modify our coaching style to get the absolute best result from them. Similar in the business world, we can't just treat every employee the exact same carbon copy, give them a number and way to go. I think it's important that we really get to know our employees just as well as our athletes so that we can connect with them deeper and get more out of them every day.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that is such a, you brought up the point comparing it to the office. Not everybody the same. Everybody is treated differently. So when you're working with, with individuals within a team effort, I guess in sporting, whether it be baseball, hockey, lacrosse, whatever it may be, how do you, or what are some of the tips that you use to motivate them?
So, a lot of it comes from within. It's not necessarily motivation shouldn't always come from me. What my goal eventually is to do is to get it to come from them, because it's them who's waking up at 5 a.m. to come to some of these practices. It's them who are going to be holding themselves accountable to eat properly, to read the right books. And so it's what I try to do is try to paint them a picture of what they want to get out of the time they spend with me. And when I can paint them a picture of having them sign to a school in the States, or to get a scholarship, or to be player of the year, to make a Team Alberta or the Canada Games or the junior national team, then when they can actually see this picture that I painted for them and then they actually believe it, honestly, the motivation stops coming from me, and I'm almost telling them to go home because they've been here for so long training. It has to come from within. So it's more like we talked about initially, is getting to know them, getting to know what their goals are, painting a picture for them, allowing them to believe that it's possible. And honestly, they're going to bring a lot of that motivation and inspiration with them day in and day out. It's just more or less we steer the ship, right? They don't know necessarily how to get there, but they know they want to get there. And they control, I always refer to as they control the gas or brake, and coaches or managers or leaders steer the ship.
Oh, no, absolutely. Leadership definitely starts at the top. And that's a whole new discussion, talking about, how leaders should lead. So, when you have, I don't want to call them, little cracks in the system. And when you have teams that are, starting to maybe pull apart a little bit. What do you do, and how do you deal with those individuals that may be the problem within the team?
I mean, that's a good question. I think a lot of people rely or recruit off talent. And much like business, people see a guy who does really good in sales. Maybe he's just, a stud in the industry, and they recruit him.
Yeah.
Same thing with players, right? You see a really good baseball player, you see a really good lacrosse player, and you want him on your team. But I think we need to start getting away from recruiting off talent and recruiting off character more. We need to make sure that we're filling our business, we're filling our teams with quality people. There's a book that I just read that I'd recommend to everybody and yourself called Legacy. And it entirely talks about culture. How do you create it? How do you sustain it? And what are the elements that make up of it? And the book basically talks about how the most successful sports franchise team in history, the All Blacks, a rugby team, they don't recruit off talent. They're not looking to recruit the guy who has the most points in a season. They're looking for the guy with the most assists. They're looking for a major leader within an organization that might not be putting up the point, but that a lot of people respect and they listen to and that has experience. So we need to get away from this, recruiting off talent and filling our squads, filling our team, filling our business with characters that are going to contribute to an overall success. But if we happen to run into a player who has a bad approach or a bad day or week or is a bit poisonous to the environment, it's important to really sort of put a pin in that right away and sit down and explain to them, look, when you at the beginning of the year, you and I painted this picture of the kind of player you want to be. And when you act like this, you're actually getting far away from that plan we built. And maybe, again, holding them accountable to this picture that they want. You got to make sure it's something they want, not you. And when you can remind them that, look, what you're doing here and the kind of things you're saying and the environment you're breeding is not contributing towards this goal. And if you truly want it, things have got to change.
Oh, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a team or in the office building, the heartbeat of any company or team are the people. And I mean, I can go back to my coaching days, and when, after you got past the couple elite players, I built our team around character. I mean, the guys that wanted to be the role players, the people that wanted to be there, that would go that extra mile. And that is so important even in today's office is, you hire the person you want and you can train for the position. I mean, you've got to have a good team around you. And if you don't, that could cause problems down the road.
It's tricky because a lot of people, and especially more so in an office setting, higher up people, they think that their main concern is employees, right?
Yeah.
You look at a CEO and he thinks we need to take care of the employees. Our customers are number one. Our customers are all that matters. Our customers are what make up our business. But in all honesty, you have to worry about your employees. Your employees are then going to care about your customers. So just like in baseball, I need to make sure that I'm looking after the right elements, and then those elements will make sure that everything falls in line.
No,
it's
absolutely.
This weird dichotomy where we think that we need to put all of our focus on our clients, when in reality, if we take care of the people looking after those clients, then it'll just take care of itself. If I make sure that our practices are fun, effective, they're making progress, they can noticeably see themselves getting close to this picture that I painted them, then the attitudes will be there where I need them to be. I don't need to police their attitudes. I need to police their success to make sure that if they're getting success, there's just no reason to have a bad attitude.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, employees, as I said, employees are the key. And I mean,
Absolutely.
If they're happy, and some of the clients I work with, I always say have honest meetings, and that's whether it be a weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly meeting with all your staff, and make sure that everything is out and in the open. It just can't be
culture.
Absolutely. I mean, but more importantly, the hierarchy, the CEO, whatever it be, the sales manager must listen, must take the notes. And if there are questions or follow-ups, they have to get back to them. I mean, not everything is going to be, taken and implemented, but I mean, if employees need to be listened to. And as you said, if they feel welcome and comfortable and they love their job, the clients will feel that energy as well.
100%.
So I know you, with your progressive strength and conditioning, you kind of have a little bit of a mobile aspect, and you have in your office. So obviously marketing and networking is something we've been talking about lately on this show. So, what are you doing to keep your business sustainable, and how does the mobile aspect does it, is there any difficulties with that?
I mean, any entrepreneur is going to run into marketing issues and just building your business. It's not linear. Let's put it that way. It's not in a straight line. It just doesn't work that way anymore, especially with the way the economy sort of has been fluctuating in numerous parts of the world. It's not as simple as it was when oil was doing extraordinarily well, and people had the money to throw around. So I think, to answer your question a little bit, I think that quality control is really going to set people apart from each other. You're going to make sure that you're not just delivering a product, but you're delivering an outstanding product, and you stand behind it, and you can deliver it over, and it's repeatable. You can't just rely on that one good experience with a client and then them talk about you, and then you have kind of a bad experience. I think word of mouth is absolutely crucial. And something that I've been getting into lately, and I mean, I can take a page out of your book, is collaborating with companies. I think we run into this really weird mentality where we're all out for our own slice of the pie, right? Everybody's out for their own slice of the pie. They're hoarding clients. They're afraid to share their information. They're afraid to share some of their methods and stuff like that because, well, somebody's going to steal it and they're going to do it better. If you're scared that somebody's going to steal your method and do it better, then just do it better yourself. I think that we have to stop thinking about a slice of the pie and collaborate with 5 other companies, and guess what? Build a pie each. Right? That way you have a whole network to share from, rather than a sliver of the economy or a sliver of your industry. Collaborate. And so what I've been doing is I've just started a program with community outreach. And so what it is I've involved myself in donating some of my time for people in a program. I've also collaborated with numerous endotherapies or endomologists, athletic therapists, baseball programs, lacrosse programs, you name it. I'm trying to just get involved because ultimately, marketing these days is hit and miss depending on if you're selling a product. Sure, you want to get that product out there. But if you're selling a service, I think you have to get your service out there. And that's experiencing with other people, talking to people like yourself who are really into helping small businesses. And the more we can stop looking for a slice of the pie and start thinking a little bit more in excess and looking for a full pie, you're going to see small businesses go from small to employees to huge in a short period of time because they're thinking more in excess and less in scarcity.
Oh, and I agree. I mean, as you said, and I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much. Sharing your knowledge and sharing your story is so important in today's world because, the word of the mouth is the way it is. I've seen reviews, whether it be for restaurants or other services. People just aren't looking at those anymore. They've become such a false narrative where, a lot of companies are saying, hey, go post this on there. Say I'm really good. Say this. And, getting yourself out there. And that's great to hear, collaborating with other businesses, other organizations, whether it be baseball or especially donating your time. I mean, that is absolutely priceless. And that's a very, very good avenue to run down.
And even look at some of the restaurants collaborating with food delivery services. Yeah. Instead of them trying to X out food delivery services, they're actually getting involved with them. And think of how good their sales are looking right now. People don't have to leave their home and they can still order some of the food that they just didn't have access to before, where they would be probably eating fast food and less healthy. Now they have access because businesses and restaurants are willing to expand their scope, which again, we're in a crazy changing industry or world in that, like, between technology and social media and access to products, I mean, you can order something from Amazon and have it at your door the next day. You don't have to go necessarily and do it out of the store and limit yourself. You can expand to the world. So I think we just need to have a little bit more of an open mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Skip the Dishes, a good Canadian created company. I love that. That's a good one. So I guess what's, you've said a little bit here, Dirk, what's next for you?
Well, I mean, there are some really exciting things in the next. I think it's really important that you don't stay too stagnant. In that book that I talked about, Legacy, it talked about three stages of any kind of business. And it's development initially, more of a flat line, success being on an incline going up, and then decline. Those are the 3 eventual stages of any business. They happen and they repeat. The idea is, how do you stay in success as long as you can and avoid decline for as long as you can? So, things are going really well, but it's important when things are going well that you continue to shake things up. It's important to mix in new opportunities, to plant seeds so that in 6 months or a year they start to grow. You can't just rely on the effectiveness of your business and the success you're having now. It's a never-ending planting seeds, communicating with people. And so I've had the opportunity to take on an entire strength conditioning program for a baseball facility, and that allows me to expand in that facility. City Fit, professional training where I'm training out of as well, is growing and expanding, which is always very exciting. Also collaborating with some of these new people, and endomologists and athletic therapists and people are just always expanding my business. So I think a lot of seeds have been planted. There's a ton of opportunity. It's a matter of which ones blossom first, which ones you obviously feed. I'd definitely like to get more involved with the youth. I think that we kind of assume that they're healthy and they're strong and they're growing, they'll be fine. But I think if we can really, I want to educate the young a little bit more so that the older generations to come have that competency in the gym. They have that comfort, because a lot of people, I'm 33 years old now, and a lot of people my age and a little bit older are very uncomfortable exercising. They're uncomfortable taking care of their bodies, because just as young kids, they were never taught that. They were probably just assumed they'd be fine. But age catches up with all of us, and so does their metabolism. So it's important that the young get educated on how to do things, and they're eventually going to be taking care of us. So I think it's really important that health becomes a focus of our youth.
Oh, and that's such a great point. I mean, I know I can speak for myself how I have changed in certain sports, especially when it comes to baseball, how my stance has changed and a lot of that stuff, and how stretching has become such an important part of my life now, and yoga, just to make sure that I do, maintain a healthy body and not get injured. And it's something that was ingrained with me when I went to school in Notre Dame when I was, a lot younger, which, even in the, mid to late 80s, it wasn't really a thing yet, but it was at our school, and how I've maintained that over. So I think that's such a valid point, to make sure that you ingrained health and wellness and how to properly look after your body, in these youth that will stay with them for the rest of their lives.
I think it's kind of interesting how we older adults have been taught, insure your house, insure your car, insure your diamonds, all these things. We're putting such a high emphasis on insuring all of our valuable possessions, but literally our most valuable asset is us. Yeah. We can make more money. We can get a new job. We can build another business. We can form relationships, but we don't really insure ourselves, right? And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about more health, right? There's just no reason why somebody at 60 can't be healthier than somebody at 40. There's just no reason why not. It just takes work. It takes investment. It takes actually making it a priority. So I think we need to start drifting away from thinking that, well, my house is the most valuable thing and I need to protect it. No. You are your most valuable asset you could possibly imagine. You can make more money. You could pretty much accomplish anything you want, but you need to make sure that you're mentally strong, physically strong, and definitely capable. So that's where I kind of get upset when I see people, they can afford a brand new secondary vacation home. They can afford a secondary truck. They just bought a new vacation home here, but they struggle to find the time and the amount of money to take care of the body, whether it be to hire a strength coach or a personal trainer or a gym membership or buy some equipment. We need to start remembering what is valuable, and that's us.
No, valid point. And everything you just said is bang on there. We only have one body, and age is just a number, and we got to look after ourselves. That's for sure.
For sure.
So I guess, you've given us a lot of really good, tips here, but if you were to pick, the one, for a small business or a startup or an entrepreneur, what would it be?
I think it's really important not to spread ourselves too thin. We can't do it all. They say find a niche or whatever it is that you think you're really good at. And, there's a lot of books out there that say, don't do what you love, do what you're really good at. Or other books saying, do what you love, not necessarily what you're good at, because you'll get good at it. There's just so much conflicting information out there. But I think it's important just to, bottom line, pick something that you are particularly fond of. Maybe it is you're particularly good at, and stick with it and master it. Don't try and spread yourself thin by doing a, skip the dishes kind of idea, as well as an Uber mixed in there, taxiing people while you're dropping off food, and, also giving psychological advice, but in the front seat. Don't try and spread yourself too thin. There's just too many people in industries right now that are doing a really good job of one thing. Don't try and do it all. So I think if you're interested in doing a startup business or becoming a more in-depth entrepreneur, find out what it is exactly with great detail that what it is you want to do, and then you can start back an engineering plan. You can start asking and consulting people in that field as well and figure out how they did it. And that way you can be very focused. And as that becomes sort of more self-sufficient, a machine that essentially rolls around on its own, maybe then you can start something else, right? As that becomes more self-sufficient. But don't spread yourself thin. Find out what it is that you're particularly keen on doing. Find out how to do it. And then, again, partner yourself with people who can help. And I guess you'll have a lot more success along the road rather than trying to go it about yourself.
No, absolutely. Great point. And, And the only thing I would add to that is saying, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I mean, people are always there to help you. People will reach out to you, even guys in your same industry. I don't know how many consultants I meet with on a regular basis that do social media or do marketing, and I meet with marketing experts. I don't view them as competition. We go there, we share our stories, and we try and help each other because there's enough piece of a pie for everybody. So
totally.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're afraid of not getting the help if we were to ask for it. But I think we forget that there's hundreds of people waiting for us to reach out. They're not willing to say, hey, do you want help? Because that might seem like pity. But I think there's hundreds and hundreds of friends and within our network, or, especially if you've noticed within sports, can you see how valuable that our sports league is and the kind of network that is? I think there's hundreds of people there waiting and dying to help you. It's just a matter of you actually reaching out and opening that door a little bit. And you would see a flood of people coming in that want to share how they got started, that want to share their success, that have been dying to collaborate with you all this time. It's just been you kind of getting in your own way.
No, absolutely. Very, very valid points. And that was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on today. And I apologize to everybody that they weren't able to see Dirk and they had to look at me for these 15 or 20 minutes. Because trust me, Dirk is better to look at than I am.
Wow, on a good day, maybe.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Dirk. Thank you very much for coming on. A special thank you to Healthy Heart Sleep Company, Calgary's premier sleep apnea CPAP company, for sponsoring this show. Support local. They are a local company. They have 2 locations in Calgary. So, Dirk, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jade. I really appreciate everything you're doing. It's just awesome what you're doing here.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. And again, next week, we'll be back. Thank you, Dirk, and I hope everybody has a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.